Okay, I'll call to order this meeting of the Bridgewater Budget and Finance Committee. Yes. MJ. I'll start with B, public comment. If there are any comments from the public, we have nobody in the room here. MJ is here, but she stepped out. So if anybody has any comments online, we'll take them now.
No one raised their hand.
Okay. We will move on. There'll be another public comment at the end of the meeting as well, too. But then we'll move on to.
Can I make a motion to take out of order the two ordinance
Yeah.
before discussion?
So to start taking D, legislation referred.
Yes.
So a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 3-0. So we'll start with legislation. We'll start with general ordinance D FY 25-020, adoption of clause 22J, Massachusetts general laws. I know we talked extensively about these at the last meeting that we had for the Bridgewater Budget and Finance Committee. So I don't know if there's anything more we need to add there.
Did we decide on a percentage? Or decide we were going to do it this year? I don't remember. Do you remember, Johnny?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
On the adoption of clause 22J, we talked about the percentage, or do we discuss maybe putting it off for next year?
This is a conversation that we wanted to continue to have with Justin and Lori about if we would be able to entertain and fit this into our budget for this year. I know that things are really tight, so I don't know if this is the time where we want to introduce a very small percentage or if we want to introduce a more substantial percentage. So I think we had just discussed leaving this on the agenda until we continued to kind of go through the budget process. So I don't know if we want to continue that again tonight or if we have any more information as to if there's room and a palette to have this in the budget for this year.
Yeah, I think Shelley offered to come up with some suggestions on what would it be based on the percentage. So I'm okay with continuing it if that's okay for you all. So somebody wants to make the motion.
Motion to continue.
Okay, motion to continue for FY 25-020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Okay, and then moving on to order O FY 26-049, acceptance of donation High Pond Resident Association. Do we have anything additional to add here? This is the very small one.
No, I thought that was nice.
None for me.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
A motion to accept.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. Okay, and then we will go back to item C, discussion. So the idea tonight, we had talked about this again at the last meeting, would be to just start the conversations around FY 27 budget based on what the town manager had provided to the town council last Tuesday. So in last Tuesday's agenda packet, the town manager provided a high level look, just as we get every year, of what the FY 27 budget will look like. We also saw what the school committee had, superintendent had proposed as well too. So I think there's a lot on the table for us to discuss and kind of think about where we're going forward. I don't think we need to come up with any concrete numbers or plan or action tonight, but I think it's good to just start the conversation and move forward. And then also, just for folks' knowledge, the finance committee is joining us for a joint meeting at 7 to offer them the same kind of path forward. Start the conversation, again, talk really high level about what we want to address or look at. And so that's kind of where things stand. I don't know if either of you have anything in particular you wanted to focus on this piece, or Lori, I don't know if there's any update or anything you want to give that we don't already know or have.
Yeah, I mean, from between last weekend and today, we don't really have a lot to update other than we're trying to nail down the budget calendar, which I did provide, somewhat updated, but we have we kind of, this is a high level forecast, right? And you see the budget message that Justin provided. So inside there, sorry. Inside there, there's some goals. So, the goals will be obviously determined from the original budget resolution, the conversations between the town council, the conversations between the finance committee, and these subcommittees about what the goals are. So we know it doesn't, it looks pretty bleak with the first pass, but we haven't really dug into the expenditure side. We kind of can make a high level budget estimate based on property 2.5, a couple of revenue assumptions, and state aid. I mean, those are our major revenue, or our only revenue, right? We have 4 sources of revenue. So we have property taxes, we have state aid, and we have local receipts, and then we have other funding sources which come from internally that fund like our debt payments, our special, get the ambulance receipts reserve. So we do have a couple of things. So we kind of know, Justin and I have already started looking at the current revenue situation, what's coming in, what the trends have been over the last 4 or 5 years. If we can, take a good stab at giving some realistic estimates with a little more than what we've provided. So we're looking into that. We've scheduled our budget meetings with the department leaders and department heads. We're going to start meeting with them tomorrow. So we have a very full afternoon of meeting with all the departments and hearing their needs, how they're spending now, what it's looking like. And they understand that it's a pretty lean and mean budget. So, I mean, without any additional revenue and our expenses increase, and we know we have to make cuts to the expenses to balance the budget. So, the goal is, and the goal has to be that we balance this budget.
So what's our projected total budget for the year? What's the revenue? Is it 80 million?
Yeah, so on the preliminary,
It's a good point.
it's looking to be, the operating budget is 82,032,471.
Okay, I got that right.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
was the one
okay.
that was on the agenda.
Okay, and do you know what our what the departments with all the things that we have to pay, not the school?
Yeah, so if you look at that preliminary, so the total operating debt service is about 37 million. The school, along with the regionals, we have Bristol Plymouth, we have Bristol Aggie, we have Norfolk County Agricultural. That's about 44.5 million.
So the thing is, so Desi says we only have to give the school this year 30,753,000, but they're asking 39. Mr. Powers from the school. So. Yeah. So they're gonna have to cut theirs and we have to cut ours. All right.
That's the unfortunate news. I mean, if we don't have more revenue, then we have to cut our expenses to balance the budget. So that's,
What's our reserve fund used for?
our reserve fund is about $9 million.
And what do we usually use that for?
Reserves.
For anything we want? Lunches,
Reserves.
reserves?
Hopefully nothing.
Yeah.
Lori, I have a very specific question, and Johnny, just jump in whenever too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep forgetting to look up. One of the items that was on Justin's proposal from last week was it says we anticipate a larger percentage increase from the ambulance receipts reserves. And it says we've increased ambulance service rates. Do you know what the difference is there and how much they've increased?
Well, we've been using probably a revenue, we have a dashboard that tracks the revenue over the years. So we've been using about a 2%, 2.5% increase every year. So we're looking at right now what the costs or what the revenue coming in now. From the year 24 to 25, we were kind of flat.
Hmm.
So people aren't paying their bills. So
The
our,
ambulance bills?
Yeah.
Aren't that insurance? So are we caught up with the prison?
the prison did make a couple of key payments in this fiscal year. So that's good. So that's gonna increase the percentage a little bit, but it's for old
Because
bills.
just this year, they got 3,651 EMS calls. And so do you know how much out of that we didn't get paid?
Out of the
3,000.
Yeah, well, we have a
650.
monthly receivable and we have a meeting with New England Medical Billing every month. So we carry a receivable balance of unpaid bills or bills that, are outstanding. I don't have that information tonight, but I'll be happy to provide it at the next meeting.
So is it the same charge for everyone? The same basic charge? And some insurances pay more percentage of it, some not?
Right.
Okay, because I mean,
We have
that's a lot of
Medicare,
calls.
so Medicare, they greatly reduce their payments. But then at the end of the fiscal year, we usually fill up there's an ambulance. I apologize, it slipped out of my.
That's okay.
But we do an annual report to get reimbursements.
Do you know what an average charge is for an ambulance, right? Or does
Not
it
off
make a
the top of
difference to
my
what
head.
hospital? Does it make a difference which hospital?
I think it makes a difference in what they're billing, what they're actually, not only the transport is part of the billing, but depending on what services, like if they're giving them medication or if they're
That
hooking
makes
them up
sense.
or.
Yeah.
So there's a whole formula and
Yeah.
if they have life, EMS treatment. And the ambulance dashboard, I'll provide that to everyone. That kind of gives you a per run average. So, based on the activity of the year.
Thank you.
That will help with some of those questions. But we are constantly, we're meeting with the billing company to make sure. So, I mean, it's what, at 2 million, we put it in for a slight increase of 2.27. 2.2 million. So, and don't forget, that's only 30% of the fire and EMS budget.
Are you limited to how much you can increase or change that by?
Well, there used to be a resolution by the council.
That was gonna be my next question,
Mhm.
is how come we increased it without?
There was a resolution by the council, so I'd have to look back at when that changed, but originally it was, they didn't want to go over 1 million when it started, and then there was a formula, and then there was a. So that has changed over the years too. I think if Debbie's listening, maybe she can pull those resolutions for us.
But this is old legislation that's been, I mean, I don't think I've seen it in my 3 years, so it's
Yeah.
just been kind of operating at that 2% or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
Do you mean changing the price of the ambulance?
Yeah,
But
no,
you're
I'm not suggesting we change it, I'm just curious on
No,
how that
I'm-
number is determined.
Yeah, but the town council can change the rate of the ambulance?
I would think so, it's because it's finance related.
Okay, that makes sense.
So when Justin says we've increased the ambulance service rates, is we didn't do anything out of the ordinary here. We
No,
just did what we
so-
do every year.
So the actual billing is done by New England Medical Billing. So I think, again, we meet with them monthly and, they know the industry better than us. So they tell us what the industry is and what's going on and what the increases should look like. Where are we with the increases and where are we with, billing? So, that's a continuous conversation between us and the medical, the New England medical companies.
It's burning. No.
It's a great budget and Lori is great.
She's, yeah.
We just finished a lot earlier, so I want to be supportive of Lori. I'll continue.
No, we're talking about the ambulance and how the billing increases are set usually by the industry standards and in collaboration between our contract with New England Medical and the town. So they usually they have the industry rates and they advise us, we should go up with this, so we should do that. So we're lockstep and to get the most, that we can for the community, and make sure that our rates are competitive.
So Lori told you it's a fine balance, right? Because you have to find a rate that's suitable where your charges are like you're collecting at a good rate too versus, losing bad debt or something like that. So
Yeah.
we're just trying to navigate, find what the rate is.
But it's something we haven't changed as a council in some time. I mean, I just said to Lori, from my recollection, I don't think we.
Well, from the percent that we're taking from the
The percentage to the budget, yeah.
yeah, we kind of kept it at around 30% of what the EMS budget is.
Yeah.
The town really wants to make sure that we have enough in that fund to sustain, if we spend it all every year, we're not gonna know
Right.
what the next year's gonna bring, and then that's just gonna be a loss for the whole continuing of funding.
For the fire
EMS for the
department's
future.
equipment,
Correct.
yeah,
And the ambulances, so
yeah.
we have 2 ambulances right now leasing. So those are about, I don't know, 48.
We don't have 3?
Not currently new. So
Oh.
we have 1 on order. 1 we're still paying for that we have. And the other 2 are fairly in good shape, but, we'll probably look to put 1 on order next year because it takes 2 years for them to build and receive.
Oh.
So it's a continuous
Yeah.
process.
I have a question if you don't have one, Paul. On this budget on page 18, it's the state county assessments.
Mhm.
So that's the stuff we're paying for, like mosquito control, air pollution. What's that? Oh,
So if you look at the budget message, I think Justin provided it's on the cherry sheets. So that comes off of our local aid. So it comes off of our local aid payments. And there's
It's on page 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, mine has a letterhead. I don't know if it's page 2 or but it's the Bridgewater. You'll see estimated receipts and then you'll see estimated assessments and charges.
yeah,
And those are essentially charges that the state charges for, these various things like mosquito control, air control. You'll see MBTA usually on there and stuff like that.
they charge us for the motor vehicle.
Registry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so they do all the commitments of the excise billing. So they have those records that they send all the communities. That's how we bill out the excise from their database of records.
So we have to pay them for sending it out.
Somebody's doing the work
Yeah.
to do that, yeah. I would guess, I honestly don't know what the charge is for, but that would be my guess.
It's also the marking fees, because the registry charges a $20 marking fee whenever a vehicle, whenever a taxpayer does not pay their excise on time. When it gets marked at the registry, the $20 fee is assessed. So this could also be part and parcel of the amount of fees that they expect they could collect based upon what their system says are delinquent taxes that someone needs to clear before they can conduct business again.
On the topic of excise taxes, did that January report come out for projected excise taxes? I know we had mentioned it last time.
Yeah, the commitment did come out. Let me see. It was up a little, so that's good news. It wasn't down. We always hold our breath that, people are still buying cars and leasing, so let me just get that.
It's up to you.
It's not updated yet, sorry.
No, that's good.
What's not updated, but I think the commitment.
Justin, is Joshua McGuire considered under your department?
Joshua McGraw, yes,
Ma'am.
human town manager's report.
How many people work in the water department?
Off the top of my head, we have the list.
I don't, it would be helpful if we knew how many in each department, because we're all wondering.
Do you guys have the preceding budget from the last year with you?
Yes. Well, I have it on mine.
There should be an FTE
Yeah,
there.
there's FT and the salary detail report that outlines all the positions
Okay.
there.
And last year?
I was
Yeah, we
looking
have
at
170 FTEs in total. And then which departments were you looking at?
water and sewer.
It may just have it as under DPW. Well, the town engineer DPW has 3. I don't know. I don't see water as a separate line item.
When you go to the salary, I'll show it to you guys after, but if you look at the salary, we have the information, I just don't have it in front of me. For the salary detail report, it breaks out each of the positions in those relative enterprise funds and general fund. And so in the water enterprise, they'll break out the various people in there. You can go back and commitment. Where you go.
Yeah, I'll get you that commitment,
Yeah.
Jen. Sorry, it's not updated in my reporting yet.
Okay, yeah, just as, I usually ask about that because it's generally the #1 local receipt that outperforms projections. And I'm looking at, 2025, we took in $4.8 million.
Mhm.
This current, this last year, I think it was 3.9 million. And then in FY 2027, we're projecting for around just over $4 million. So I just wanted to see where we're at, if we could continue to outperform those projections or not.
And that'll be one of the things that we'll definitely looking to get really hard at to, obviously, we're not doing the 2% for the,
Mhm.
that estimating, so that will give us room to increase that a little bit so that we can, hopefully close the gap on the budget.
And then just to be clear, when we do find out this information, is this going to be information for our fiscal year Q3 and Q4, or what timeline does this commitment kind of project out to?
This commitment will help project out to June 30th because we'll have a few other, smaller commitments, in the spring. I think they do a couple $100,000 one. But yeah, it'll definitely give us a good indicator of what we think we're going to collect and what we can estimate for next year for sure.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, because I'm just looking at it, like you said, historically, a
Mhm.
majority of it comes in Q3, so that'll be helpful.
That's gonna be commit 1, commit 2, and probably commit 7 for 25.
25, yeah. Yeah, so March 31st is Q3 ending, so, but obviously we'll have, we'll have the numbers in front of us before then, because we'll need it, to provide it for the budget. But we'll be happy to share that with you in the next, as soon as we have the other commitments, but I will share what it is to date at the end of January with everyone here.
I have one question, Laurie. Like the town council has $3,000 for conferences. So if we don't use that, does that go into the budget? back into the budget, because they put 3,000 every year, so that's,
So it just closes right out to free cash, so.
okay, anything that's left over was a free cash. Oh,
I think we should cut it.
cut it? No, I just wondering what we're doing with it, we don't use it.
In looking at this coming year's budget, one of the larger, increases that I noticed year over year was to employee benefits, which was line item 911, 919. It
Yeah.
goes up $1 million from last year's budget to this year. Can we speak a little bit about what's driving that?
Ooh. You can, so we estimated our health insurance to be 14.2%, because that's the,
15.
yeah, or 15, yeah, so health insurance is 15%. Our pension assessment, which we already have that information from Plymouth County, is 7.26%. We have workers' comp and workers' comp and Medicare, life insurance and unemployment. That is about 3%. So it averages to about a 10% increase in that.
9.5.
So it's all those little buckets.
Do we know what's driving the 15% increase in health insurance? I think last year it was about 6 or 7%.
Yeah, so we haven't got the final number. The steering committee, I think, was meeting this week or next week. So we'll be reaching out to Mayflower to see what the alternative, or if there is any options of I think they're having some inner discussions about offering plans that may have a lower cost to communities. But they haven't really made those recommendations yet to the cities and towns, so we're kind of waiting for the steering committee to do their work. And then we'll be right on it and have to have some decision, Justin and I, and we'll have to have some decisions about what that looks like. Because any changes to the health insurance, we do have to have a public employee committee, and we have to discuss that with all the bargaining units if we make any substantial changes. So,
Mhm.
and we'll be, we have to do that, then we do that. So,
I think to expand on that, I mean, obviously looking at what the health insurance has generally been for the town previously, I'm not gonna say we're lucky, but the town has generally been on the more conservative end of these increases. The school, for example, last year you saw a large increase. A lot of other communities have seen larger increases a little bit earlier than us. They're based on claims as well. The market, I mean, if you look at the state, for example, that's probably one of the biggest drivers of their budget. Governor Healy's talked about GIC and the impact on mass health and those increases. So this is not out of the norm. The average is surprising higher than kind of where we're at. We're like sort of in line. So we're hoping that that number will come down. Usually it's high initially, and then it tends to get a little smaller as we get through the budget process, but it's Bridgewater's turn now, essentially.
I'm gonna ask about the school budget that was presented to us, and I know it's probably not much to say at this point, given how early it is, both processes. But you did share that you and the town administrator from Raynham expressed to the school committee, right, at one point, or at least the superintendent, like where things stood with our town, right? But pretty open, you said you've had dialogue with them all.
Yes. I just came from the budget subcommittee of the regional school district, where I outlined what our revenue generally looks like, the school formula that we've used since 2021, and just indicated to them, what the revenue looks like. There isn't, obviously Lori and I will review revenue opportunities in the local receipts largely. But Prop 2.5 doesn't change. New growth will finalize with Shelley probably around in March or something like that. You're gonna have small incremental changes there. But the revenue is the revenue essentially. And that will feed into what we're able to fund and reducing that initial budget deficit that you see.
Yeah, and it looks like new growth is down compared to last year, right?
Yes.
Overall, although the fees are up. So does that mean growth is down, but we're building more? And growth would potentially go up?
I think that's complicated by a variety of things. One, we'll let Shelley sort of take a look at what we're projecting new growth, because, there's Broad Street, potentially, Encompass and different things like that. But I think it gets complicated with the water infrastructure too, right? If we're not allowing any new projects to tie in, that has impact on new growth, it has impact on revenue, like building permits and different things like that. So it's complicated. I think we'll take a look. We'll see what we feel comfortable in regards to that. But the number for new growth has been trending down over the past 5 years.
Right.
It's generally been higher in the budget, and now it's been slowly cascading down.
Last year, I mean, we went from 25,963,000. The year before was over 1 million. The year before that was over 1 million. And then when we set the tax rate in December, our new growth was 521. So that's the lowest it's been for us, for the 7 or 8 years.
No, I mean, if you look at the way that people and companies are leaving Massachusetts, I mean, with Massachusetts, can't do it anymore.
And the new growth is based on property coming online by January 1st, so.
Yeah, I'm still not keeping up. It's so expensive. Our taxes. I don't know what that Cumberland Farms on, Jasmine Way, I don't know how they're big building back there.
Oh, yeah, they just started going pretty good again back there.
Yeah.
There was some bankruptcy for a few years.
Mhm.
I know they actually, Steve Slary was talking about that, saying a couple of the houses were permitted, so looks like they're moving along.
Yeah, it looks like it'd be a pretty good development. But, I mean, I guess we can have to focus on companies. Look at diffs and encourage different businesses to come in.
Well, I think on that, I'll just say my piece too, and then Johnny, you can weigh in. I think overall for me, it's like every year we look at this and, you're pinching pennies, and I'm sure it's been like that for a long time, long before me, but eventually something's got to give, and we have to make some drastic cuts or close something or do something to give us more flexibility, right? Or to build us back up. So, I mean, nobody's advocating to cut employees and nobody's advocating to close or stop any services by the town. But until we take a drastic measure, this is going to be it every year, right? And we tried the override last year and that failed. And people have expressed they don't want to pay more for town services. So I think the result of that is then we have to make some decisions here on how to give ourselves more flexibility because it's just not sustainable at where we're at now and what we're offering, right? So I guess like that's my overall piece. And when you do come back with the recommended budget in April, I wouldn't be surprised to see any of that take place in here because of what I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years. And I want to see us have some flexibility to build us back up and be able to provide the services that we're currently providing, but we just can't do it at this rate.
Laura, you want to say anything before I say something with everything?
No, I mean, we're a municipal, we're a town, right? There's only so much revenue. People need to understand that. You got 4 buckets, like I said, taxes, state aid, local receipts, and then your other funding sources. So the budget is you get all this money and then every year you spend all the money. So you might have some left over, but we're services, we provide services to the community. So we're going to spend their tax money and provide the best service we can. 80% of the town side of the budget, I mean, you go school in town, 50-something% is the education, and rightfully so. What's left for the town, $40 million is 80% of that is salaries and benefits. So the expenses that we go and we working with the department leaders, they're cutting that little 20% like down to whatever, but it's not enough to balance the budget. So, we understand the difficult choices that are gonna have to be made because, to close the delta, we're gonna have to, it's not gonna come from that 20% of expenditures. It's gonna come from salaries and benefits. So,
But even just closing the delta is like, what does that do for us, right?
Exactly, that's what I wanted
Keeps
to
us at
ask
the
you.
same spot next year.
right.
Well, that's what I wanted to say, because I think the part, in a different structure and a different system, what I was gonna say, I wasn't gonna use flexibility. It doesn't give us any flexibility.
No.
It's just closing the gap that we have. Because I'll use the last budget as an example. It didn't really add flexibility for you to close the gap, the decisions that were made. You have to reduce staff. You later fired her off along with a lot of other departmental changes. We continue that with the post supplement appropriation. And the gap is widened in comparison where we were last year at this point to where we are now.
Yeah.
So it's not really adding flexibility here. I won't even say treading water, because without more revenue, and this is where I think it's important to be transparent, without more revenue, you're just going to continue to trim. It's just the reality of the situation.
Right. But it's very hard to get a lump sum revenue into a municipality either. Right? Like nothing's gonna change overnight with that. And I said flexibility because
I know what you meant.
yeah, right, to give us some breathing room here. We're providing X number of services, but at what level are we providing them? Right? Our people are great, but we're just barely spreading it thin across the board. So at some point, some service has to give in order to give better service over here, right?
Right.
Right. But at some point too, I mean, this is a part. If it was a smaller deficit initially, and we'll do this work, so I'm using really hypothetical. We won't know
Sure.
this until we get into the numbers.
Yeah.
Is that I think you're getting close to the point, if you aren't already, and once we get, we'll know this, is you aren't really cutting service to give better service elsewhere. You're probably cutting service to try to maintain a service as best as possible when you're not going to be able to maintain that service. That's probably the reality of the situation we're at, right? To be honest with you. Because let's use the school budget, for example. They were trying incremental growth of 10 new positions, but I think our assessment was $3 million. And Johnny was aware of this. He said it. I didn't want to say in the meeting because we're looking at these numbers. That's essentially adding $2.1 million to our deficit. It's not possible. It's not possible without immense cuts on the town side of things. So
Which
it's
is not fair, because I mean, you gotta decide whether you're cutting teachers or employees of the town.
But that's life, right? Like that's what we have
I
to
think it's
decide.
gonna have to be both. It can't have like, okay, you can get 10 teachers and we have to get rid of 10 people.
Yeah.
I mean, we both have to suffer, and I don't think it's right for one or the other. You know what I mean? I know everyone's struggling. I mean, look at our building inspector, doing 2 jobs. So I think it has to be on both, unfortunately.
Yeah, can we speak a little bit to the process? I know that this is preliminary to the increased spending over last year, which is albeit quite small. I think it's under 2% from general government departments and public safety. Our total general fund operating budget is up a little bit more than that, but like I mentioned, $1 million of that is due to increased benefits. So how are you guys coming up with the numbers? So for example, like the 100 line item, it's a 1.8% increase. Can you speak to the methods behind that?
No, but you keep going.
Yes,
This is a good
so
job for me.
we're gonna meet with the departments. We're gonna, we know what the salaries look like and, with the forecast here and the reduction of the COLA, we think we can, bring this number down a little bit. Because again, we did a wide, based increase, but, we're gonna, dig into each department and, just see where it gets us. So, these numbers are not the final numbers. They're just a percentage of what we had added COLA, took COLA away, so now we're looking at what the actual numbers are. So we think we're gonna tighten them up and we're gonna find a little bit of savings in that because of what we did with the negotiating with the contracts with the staff, so we had to move the wage adjustment, so you guys didn't get that order yet, that moved the contract and the wage adjustments to all of the settling of that, so there'll be some availability of that, hopefully that wage adjustment line, so yes, it's gonna be a month of us crunching the numbers, bringing them down and getting to those final numbers before we can really estimate anything else.
And I think just to add on to that, Johnny, goes, ultimately, the town managers do submit a balanced budget. So whatever, the number is that we'll have to, whether we have to make adjustments in those lines as well. This is just a forecast. It's just using assumptions, right? Because this number has a $2 million deficit. Obviously, the budget that we submit won't, right? So if we have to make adjustments to those general government, public safety, or whatever it is, we'll do that as well. And that's just part of our budget process that we've already started now. We're having meetings with departments. We'll look at their sheets. We'll analyze them, and then we'll go from there.
Does this preliminary number include the same number of FTEs as our current situation, or does this anticipate any changes in that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. This forecast was based on last year's. Obviously, we did some eliminating of the positions for that $850,000 cut that we had to do, which was about 400,000. So, yeah, we'll have to look at that as well.
As part of the forecast, just the thing, some of those positions do get incorporated as part of the forecast, right? So you can see what that number looks like, but we'll obviously have to make a determination whether we can proceed with them or not proceed with them.
And where are we currently at with the Collins Center review for our organization chart and that whole situation in terms of how everything is organized here? I think that was the scope, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope, that's the scope. They're doing very well. There's a draft report that they've sort of worked on. There were some other departments that they had to go back to and get a little bit more information. So, I think the same timeline that I had before was the end of February, early March, is what I plan is I think we'll have a report by then. And one of the things that I had asked from them and that they will do is they'll present to the council. I want them to present their information to the council. And so I still think that timeline will be around that same time. Most likely that beginning March.
And when they do that, I don't know if you know much about their process. Are they looking at it? And I only bring this up because I just went through this, personally. I'm looking at my business organization structure, and I looked at it with as fresh of eyes as possible with a zero-based lens, which I know is hard in municipal government. But are they looking at it through that kind of lens, or can you speak to how their process works?
I'll let them speak to it, but it's definitely not a zero-based budget because I heard that term from you. What they'll take a look at is they'll look at trends, they'll look at sort of performance measurements and statistics available to us. They are looking at some comparable communities too, because obviously Collins Center does do a lot of work with other communities to see, terms of our workforce and our current staffing. So they'll take a look at that information and they'll utilize it as part of their report.
Okay.
I don't think he can see you.
Oh, bye, Johnny.
A little
There
bit.
it is.
Sorry I can't be with you tonight. I'm not feeling so hot, but I'm thankful to participate this way.
I think Johnny was like moving his head like he was trying to see you, so that's why I said that.
Yeah.
Any other big high level questions you want to ask before we start again at 7?
No,
Johnny, anything more from you on the discussion piece?
I think you've heard enough from me so far. And we did see the superintendent's preliminary budget, and then we saw the updated version of that last week. And again, I know that I brought it up at our meeting, but that number is slightly changed. It seems that with the superintendent's current ask, I think it's about 3.9 million. I'm going off of memory, above and beyond what we gave last year. And I think we're budgeting in this preliminary budget for 800,000. So let's call it, about 3.1. And then we've got a $2 million deficit here. So we have a lot of ground to make up. So I want to just continue to put that on everybody's radar.
It's on our radar already.
But yeah, that's,
Fortunately,
I know
yeah.
it's on your radar, and I know my counselors are educated, but just throw it out there. Big gap to close as we continue to do this work.
agree.
All right, I'll move on to E, public comment again, if there's any comments from the public.
No one has their hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
Yep.
I'll move to F and adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Mary's made the motion. I'll second. All those in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we're adjourned for this piece at least.